A whole year my wife told me she was working late. For a whole year I believed her. It wasn't until I stood outside a door on the other side of the city, a key I'd never seen in my hand, that I understood she hadn't been staying late at the office. I had been living a second life, one I had been quietly paying for the entire time. It started with a receipt. I wasn't looking for anything. I was cleaning out her car before selling it, reaching under the passenger seat for old coffee cups, when my fingers found a folded slip of paper. A hardware store receipt, a spare set of keys, cut, paint, a shower curtain, small, ordinary things, the kind of things you buy for a home. We hadn't renovated anything in our house in years. I turned the receipt over. Printed at the bottom was a store 2 suburbs away, nowhere near her office, nowhere near anywhere she had a reason to be. I should have asked her that night. I didn't. Because some part of me, the part that had spent a year explaining away the late nights, the guarded phone, the way she flinched when I hugged her from behind, already knew that asking would only give her time to build a better lie. I had been married 9 years. 9 years that began with a road trip and a cheap ring and a promise whispered on a beach at midnight. And where in the last 2, the woman who used to text me from the next room just to say she missed me had gone quiet. Silence had crept in so slowly I'd mistaken it for comfort. I told myself this was just what long marriages became. I told myself the distance was normal. A person can share your bed for years and still keep an entire life you were never invited into. The following week she told me the same thing she'd told me 100 times. Working late, don't wait up. And this time I didn't. I waited outside instead. In my own car, down the street, watching the garage where she parked. Headlights pulled out at 6 p.m. Sharp, nowhere near late, I followed 3 cars back, my hand steady on the wheel, my heart anything but. He didn't drive toward the office. She drove across the city into a quiet neighborhood of low apartment buildings and old trees and parked like someone who had parked there 1,000 times. She didn't check a map. She didn't hesitate. She walked to a door on the ground floor, had a key, the twin of the one I'd found, and let herself in like she was coming home, because she was. I sat in my car for an hour. Lights came on behind the curtains. A second silhouette moved across them, taller than her. I didn't need to knock. I didn't need to make a scene. I already understood the shape of it. But understanding and proving are 2 different things, and I am a patient man when it matters. Over the next 2 weeks I learned everything. I learned the apartment had been leased for 11 months. In her name, paid from an account I'd never seen, funded by transfers from our joint savings in amounts small enough that I'd never noticed them bleeding out. 100 here, 350 there. A year of it. I had been working overtime, skipping vacations, telling myself we were saving for a future, and I had been furnishing the home where she was building her escape from me. I learned his name was David. I learned they'd met through her work. I learned from a photo she'd been careless enough to leave synced to a shared cloud album she'd forgotten we still shared, that they had a whole life in that apartment. A life with framed pictures on the walls. A life that looked, in every way, more real than the one she performed with me at breakfast. And I learned the part that turned my grief into something colder and clearer. In a note-taking app, also synced, she kept a plan. A timeline. Dates. Hail him after the holidays. Move the rest of the savings by spring. He'll never fight for the house. He's too soft. She had written the ending of our marriage months ago, in a to-do list filed between a grocery reminder and a dentist appointment. He's too soft. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I didn't rage. I didn't confront her in that apartment doorway. And betrayals don't deserve your fury. They deserve your precision. I photographed the lease, the transfers, the plan. I moved my half of our real savings into an account she couldn't touch legally cleanly before spring could come. I met with a lawyer on my lunch breaks and learned that the secret apartment, the lease in her name, the year of hidden transfers, wasn't just a betrayal. It was evidence. Documented, dated, undeniable proof that she'd been diverting marital money and planning to leave for the better part of a year. House, the one she was so sure I was too soft to fight for, had been bought before our marriage, in my name alone. She'd been planning to walk away with something that was never hers. And through all of it, I held one sentence in my mind like a key in my pocket. You can share a home with someone and still be a guest in their real life. The night I ended it, I didn't raise my voice. She came home late again from the office, humming, dropping her keys in the bowl by the door. "You're still up," she said, surprised to find me in the dark living room. "I wanted to give you something," I said. She sat beside me, curious. I reached under the coffee table and set a folder on the cushion between us. She opened it, and I watched the exact moment her world stopped. A photograph of the apartment door, the lease with her signature, the bank transfers she thought were invisible, and her own written timeline glowing back at her in black and white. Beneath it all, the divorce papers, already filed, already dated, prepared the week before. "How long did you think a year stays hidden?" I asked quietly. The tears came fast, the excuses faster. She'd been unhappy. Lonely. It had grown slowly. She hadn't meant for it to become what it became. She still loved me, in her way. And beneath all of it, the sentence she thought would save her: "We can fix this. 9 years doesn't just disappear." 9 years didn't disappear, I said. And one of them building a door I didn't have a key to. You already left. You just kept sleeping here. I stood up. I set my keys on the table. The house was mine. She'd be the one leaving. "Have you already have somewhere to go?" I told her. "You've had it for 11 months. David's probably wondering why you're late." She slid to the floor, the folder trembling in her hands, begging me to remember the road trip, the beach, the promise. But that promise had died quietly, months before, in a to-do list she'd filed and forgotten. That night, with one suitcase and the belief that she was finally choosing the life she wanted. She got it. And she learned, the way people always do, that a life built on a hidden foundation doesn't hold weight. David, it turned out, loved the secret more than the woman, and the secret became ordinary. Once she was just his, out in the open, with nothing left to hide. Whatever they had thinned out fast. Months later, she called. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "No," I said gently. "You made a home, for a year. I just made it somewhere I wasn't." There was a long silence. And in the fragile voice of someone who finally understood what she'd traded away, she asked, "Is there really nothing left for me here?" I looked around the quiet house, my house, at the life I was slowly rebuilding, one honest morning at a time. "No," I said. "You have your apartment. I have my peace." Each kept what we were really building. I hung up before she could answer. People think revenge has to be loud. A picture screaming, thrown plates, doors torn from their hinges, but the sharpest revenge is quiet. It's a folder placed gently on a cushion. It's a calm voice where she expected a scream. It's handing someone the exact life they built in secret and letting the silence do the rest. An apartment from me for a year. She should have kept the receipt out of the car. Because you can hide a second life for a long time. You just can't hide it forever.